I just recorded a beautiful, articulate video about geopolitics and general business analysis of burlesque. And I did it subjectively. Don't try it with me. You hoes, Shole is ugly. I had to do a D Springs right there. Did you see that move? I left burlesque due to a nervous breakdown due to the cyberbullying that had no grounds, that somebody with 20,000 followers chose to come down on me that I had when I had 1,800. Now, I don't understand how I'm the bully in that situation, but okay. I took a hiatus. And disclaimer, I'm going to be as subjective as I possibly can as somebody who's been a victim of the colorism and racist entitlement of girls in this scene. I won't give you the credit of calling you a woman. Of little ass girls who've been on this earth for 40 years or more. The mean girl antics that this scene, which we won't give credit of calling an industry, has subjected me to. I will be as subjective as possible. Good morning. I am Rachel McCollough. I have received, I am a Night Arts finalist, a 2015 Night Arts finalist. I had an initiative to bring burlesque to Detroit. Out of 1,000 people, I made it to, I believe, the top 100. Not quite sure. You can check the spreadsheets, but I also lectured about Black burlesque and brought lectures about Black burlesque to the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. At the time, was the biggest and largest and first African American history museum in the country. So I do kind of have some ethos in talking about, and I've also lectured in the Center for Sex Positive Culture in Seattle on the same thing. So we were on live on our International Black Burlesque Company Facebook. Still introducing. I'm a little frazzled because I just recorded that video, but anywho, you'll get over it. I am now one of 3 executive producers of International Black Burlesque Company shows. Now, back to the nitty-gritty of the analysis. Now, I went into hiatus, not for lack of trying to get back on my feet, but after somebody of that stature took a blow to my social media, which that was very strategic and deliberate, because I was just getting ready to call out colorism, and who would show up but a colorist, light-skinned, biracial entity on Instagram and Facebook, and will accuse me of bullying people into giving me money, when that has never been my repertoire or reputation. But the scene that was around me ran with it, and it's not about the burlesque scene. The burlesque scene is too small. This is why I don't call it an industry. It's too small. Nobody knows anybody outside of that scene. So it's not special. It doesn't generate any income. It doesn't create any jobs. It doesn't create any cultural impact, but in a very niche market. And that's just the fact. It's not a business. It's not an industry. Dita is an entity, and a fashion one at that. More so looked at the world as a fashion figure than she is a burlesque performer. And I find that problematic. So when I talk about geopolitics and Black burlesque, it is to give you a more subjective veil to look at. So if anybody knows what geopolitics is, it is how your area affects the way you live your life and the way policies are made and the way business is done. Simply just that. We're not going to judge people on this channel. I'm not going to be condescending. I'm going to be as succinct as possible, because it is useless for me to drop 3-syllable words to make it seem like I know more than you do. Let's get that established right there. The classism in New York affects how people produce their shows. See, if I'm a rich white woman or a rich woman who is married to a white man, I can set a price, and I have the privilege and the worth around me to establish a standard of in which I perform. It doesn't create a standard for anybody who's coming behind me or beside me. And if I keep booking the same people over and 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 over again, like booking my friends, for example, or booking people that I know instead of doing the research to find other performers, there's an IBBC for that. If I do that, I continue to cheapen the brand. You can only produce so many acts per person. And if you see the same acts in the same venue by the same performer, it's going to get tired and people are not going to want to pay that. This is where IBBC has come in and where bitches have been mad. I mean that in the most professional way possible. I've had people like come at me as if I were stepping on their toes, as if they were entitled to the city that I was producing in, as if I should have just stayed in my city, as if I should have paid somebody else more for wanting to sell their product at my show. See, geopolitics, when you think about it, really matters, because when you paint a producer as an angry black girl, without saying it, but just throwing the shade, as an angry black girl, as an angry dark-skinned black girl, as an angry dark-skinned black girl from Detroit, one of the poorest cities in our country, she's very easy to dismiss. So, geopolitics definitely matters. It's definitely easier to produce in New York and LA, and you can go and partner with a venue. I can't even partner with a bar up here because the Midwest historically has been known as a Bible Belt. They still raid strip clubs strategically. They still change the laws like strategically so that you can get in trouble, so that clubs can get shut down. That's why clubs are getting shut down in Detroit. Strip clubs to this day are getting shut down. And yes, obviously, burlesque is different from stripping, but it is still stripping, club stripping. It's different from club stripping. I consider that as different genre. I consider Russian ballet and French ballet different ballets, but they still do first position and releves, right? Right. So, getting back to that, there are different issues. Like you can use your social wealth to open a venue. You cannot do that in the Midwest. My values and geopolitics are different in how I produce my shows. They're not wrong. See, to a New Yorker or somebody in Pennsylvania, where you can use your social wealth to share a venue and keep the door and they can have the bar, that's not a reality for me. So my production has been shaped on spending $100, then $200, then $700, then $1,000 on my production, on my venues just alone. And I hadn't paid anybody under $100. So $20,000 is not a lot of money whatsoever, especially when the cost of living in Atlanta is where I was going to produce the show, where the crowdfunding failed and everything like that. Especially, there'll be another video on that. Especially in Atlanta when the cost of living is higher, so therefore the cost of the venue is higher. And I will charge my ticket prices higher. Especially when the last show that I had, the last successful noir night I had, I flew people out round trip and put them up in a hotel. See, I have integrity, unlike other producers. When I book somebody, I don't book somebody that I'm not willing to pay. So we all talk a good game of paying performers what they're worth. But when it comes to producing, do we really do it? I don't compromise for my shows. I don't. I had no choice. When I created IBBP, International Black Burlesque Performers, I wanted to create a network so the troupe that I was with can find enough black and brown black burlesque performers to produce. But what I found was that nobody was reaching out to the black girls to even build an appreciation for burlesque. Either there was an assumption that they wouldn't be interested or they didn't know. Either way, that's still racist and disrespectful and exclusionary as fuck. So that was a research platform that I used to make sure that I wasn't crazy. I knew there had to be more black burlesque performers out there. And sure, the sky is fucking blue. Before I even developed some new performers, there were some in Chicago. There were some, but you didn't hear of them. The only one you heard of was Pearl Noir. And that's unacceptable. Not when you're in black ass cities like New York. So then I found Brown Girls Burlesque. And then I'm like, there's got to be more. And then I find Misty Vine. Then I find Chocolate Extraordinaire. Then I find all of these people, and it was just us celebrating ourselves, and that became a problem for people, even black people from Canada. I don't blame you. You're from Canada. All shade and all tea. I had black people asking me, why does it have to be black burlesque performers? Why isn't it more inclusive? Don't you see how many black girls don't have stockings that match their skin tone? Don't you see how many black girls don't know how to do their fucking hair for the show? Don't you see that? You do. That's why it was a problem for you. And why the black girls who want to be the only black girl at the table, who want to be the girl who gets to sit with the white girls, who gets to sit with the popular girls, will sell out any movement, be it in New York, LA, Miami, Atlanta, in order to get that validation. Our ancestors aren't pleased. Our ancestors are not pleased. I'm talking about the Shake Deserts. I'm talking about black burlesque performers. I don't give a fuck about white burlesque performers. And they don't have to give a fuck about me. They don't have to give a fuck about IBBC's mission. They just need to stay the fuck out of the way. IBBC is going to have some crowdfunding campaigns. We will promote them how we see fit. IBBC will be doing some community organizing and outreach on behalf of the girls, on behalf of the producers, on behalf of the men, on behalf of the black and brown, not black and brown, because actually when it comes down to it, black burlesque performers create this movement, this neo movement. We take all sorts of hits that the other performers of color or passing people do not. I do not apologize for that fact. So I'm speaking for International Black Burlesque Company, and it's International Black Burlesque Company. It will not change because we need to be the industry holding, the organization holding burlesque accountable so that it might become an industry, so that it might become sustainable, so that you might see more black burlesque performers who are actually good instead of put there to fill a quota, curated, so that you might see people on the board of BHOF, so that you might see black people on the board of Viva Las Vegas. And no discredit to the winners of Viva Las Vegas. If you knew what it was before, There was one other Black girl who won before. Now, when you don't see people, representation matters. And I don't see why I have to explain this, but I will. When you don't see people that look like you, it makes you feel unwelcome. Period. So don't half-ass. I'm not asking you to say, calling all Black burlesque performers. Simply, if you're in Detroit, actually go to the city of Detroit. If you're in New York and your show is big and bad, go to Harlem, go to the Bronx, go to Brooklyn. If your show has such integrity and we're peasants and we don't know who Candy Bar is and Tempest Storm and they're so special and Blaze Star and we don't know who these people are and you're supposed to entertain us and we will be blessed with your knowledge and your privilege, then actually reach out to the community. Then actually make sure it's subjective. Then actually make sure your literature and wording is succinct and actually make sure you do your research so that when you do decide to copy a move that Charlotte Araigne did years before, 3 years before, and put burlesque in a museum, that you've at least done some concrete homework and looked through what the museum shares. See, if you don't care about burlesque, don't get in my way. I love this art form. The people who are producing with me respect this art form too much to not pay our performers. We respect this art form too much to not put our performers up. We respect this art form too much to do half-ass research when we are talking about burlesque's history. And we're also hella Black, if you hadn't noticed, and we don't have that luxury to be mediocre. Have a good goddamn day.